Okay, so once again, good morning, everyone. So for this day, we will discuss about statistics. And the first one that we need to know about statistics is its nature. So the nature of statistics, of course, we have to know the definition of statistics. So when we say statistics, this is concerned with the collection of data. Now, if we have to define data, kung mingon ta na data, this is an information. Okay? Information ang pasabot ng data. Gets? So when we talk about statistics, again, it is concerned with the collection of data. So you are collecting informations. What does it mean? Na dili ra kung isa na mga informations but more informations ang inyo i-collect. Okay. Kaduha is their descriptions and their analysis, which often leads to the drawing of conclusions. So, after collecting data, you have to know its description, you have to know and you have to analyze that, no? Gikan sa imo data or sa information. Like for example, naka-receive ka ng information sa mga students ng NEMCO, na ang NEMCO is nindot yod na eskwelahan. And then after that, you will have to analyze those information. And after analyzing kato na information, it will lead you to the drawing of conclusions. Okay? After sa kato na information na imo nakita na, hala kasagaran kay. Like for example, na yung mga students from grade 6 na gusto mo enroll sa NEMCO. And they want to know if NEMCO is doing well, no, as a school. So they will get informations from people na mga nag-eskwela sa NEMCO. And then after that, getting that information, if daghan, no, manguha sila or mag-collect sila ng data from students. Tas if daghan ang ilang mapakutanan, tas kasagaran sa ilang mingon nga nindot ang school ng NEMCO, then after that, you will have to analyze those data coming from your colleagues. And then after analyzing, makakuan ka ng conclusion nga, okay, sa NEMCO ko mo enroll. No? So, mo lang purpose ng collection of data. That is for you to describe, that is for you to analyze, para asa ang analyzation nimo, para makahimo ka ng decision. Or for you to draw a conclusions. Right? So, when we have to define statistics, this is a science of collecting, okay, ga-collect, dili og uyab, but og information. Okay, basin og daghan na diri ang ga-collect ng uyab, no? That's why aday ga-collect og information. Describing and interpreting data. So, after collecting sa data, i-just siya i-describe kung unsa ang nasa data. Dili kay after ga-collect sa girlfriend, i-just i-describe, ay, mas nindot ra ba itong una kaysa kini? Ay, di ko dani, kay kuan man, demanding, ana gani. And after describing, you will have to interpret your data. Sa interpret, i-just siya analyze, i-interpret niyo kung unsa ang nasa data. Dili kay kung uyab, i-interpret niyo na, mabalik ko sa daan, kay mas nindot ra dito. Dili kong ingana. But we are talking of informations, okay? Unsa pagaling tong data? That is an information. Okay, so we also have two areas of statistics. Natin itawag na descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. Now, if we will say that that is a descriptive statistics, that is a collection, presentation, and description of sample data. Again, collection, presentation, and description of sample data. Now, when we say inferential statistics, this is about making decisions and drawing conclusions about populations. Kung may na sample data, no nagkuha ra ka ng sample ng mga data, like for example, na ay 1,000 ka estudyante in NEMCO. Tas nagkuha ra kag sample na instead of 1,000, nagkuha ra ka og mga 200 ka estudyante sa NEMCO. Kaya it is impossible na ang tanan estudyante sa NEMCO imong makuha. So nagkuha ka ng sample data, and then nag-collect ka, nag-present ka, o nag-describe ka from that sample data. Now, if we are saying about the inferential statistics, you will have to make decisions. And then on that decisions, you will draw conclusions about populations. Isa man yung populations. Ang populations, pasabot, mo na ang entire, no, kinatibukan. again, like for example, natin sa NEMCO, the entire student, sila gyud tanan. No? And then, let's go to the introduction to the basic terms. So we have here this what we call population and sample. Kung mingunta na population, this is a collection or set of individuals or objects or events whose properties are to be analyzed. Two kinds of populations. So natay duha ka klase sa populations. These are the finite or the infinite. Kung may finite, of course, may hangganan. Pag sinabi natin infinite, of course, walang hangganan. So, collection is dyan ng mga individuals or objects, events whose properties are to be analyzed. But when we say sample, this is just a subset of the population. So, nagkuha ra ka og sample. Like for example, tong akong gingon kagaina na if ang age population is ang entire students ng NEMCO, so kana gyud sila tanan. Estudyante sa NEMCO, mao na ang population. Ha? Mao na ang population ang tanan estudyante sa NEMCO. Pag may ka-sample, magkuha ra ka ng subset sa population. That means, nagkuha ra ka ng mga, like for example, senior high ra. Okay, senior high. Tapos naaray 200 ka estudyante sa senior high. Sample ra. So, mao na ang sample. Now, napatay gitawag na variable. Kaysa maning variable. This is a characteristics about each individual element of a population or sample. So, the value of, again, the characteristics about each individual element of a population or sample. Now, we also have this data. Natin gitawag na singular o plural. Now, for singular na data, no, its definition is, it is the value of the variable associated with one element of a population or sample. This value may be a number, a word, or a symbol. Okay, that is a data in singular. But if we talk about the data in plural, these are the set of values collected for the variable from each of the elements belonging to the sample. So the entire Kibali set, di ba, is composed of many elements. Now that means that you will collect the set of values collected. But in data that is singular, this is just the value of the variable associated with one element. Naratay isa. But if plural siya, it is the set or a collection of variables na na-collect nito for the variable from each of the elements belonging to the sample. Now, if we talk about experiment, pagminta experiment, this is a planned activity whose results yield a set of data. So, nag-experiment kintahay mo sa NEMCO, sa mga estudyante sa junior high. No, naghimo mo ng activity na ang result is makakuha mo ng set of informations from that students. Kumenta parameter, these are a numerical value summarizing all the data of an entire population. Again, numerical value nga nag-summarize sa tanan na mga information sa entire population. Kumenta statistic, a numerical value summarizing the sample data. So, ang parameter is for the population, no? Kung statistics is for the sample data. Okay, example na nata dire. A college dean is interested in learning about the average age of faculty. Identify the basic terms in this situation. Again, college dean daw, interesado siya in learning about kung unsa man ang pinakadaghan or unsa man ang average age ng mga faculty. Okay, na naata diri sa NEMCO. For example, ra. So, let's identify the basic terms in this situation. So, the population, no, kung maghisgot ang population, it is the age of all faculty members at the college. So, kung may population, entire tanan faculty. No, tanan edad ng mga faculty members sa kana na college mao ng population tanan. Kung may na sample, this is any subset of that population. For example, we might select 10 faculty members and determine their age. Iba na yung tagay na ng sample is just a subset of the population. So, kung sa population ang tanan ng mga teachers, Pag abot sa sample, pwede na ta magkuha ng napuyo ka teachers. Okay, out of the, like for example, na 50 ka teachers in that college. So you just have to select 10 or 20. Now, ang variable nga gitawag diha is the age. Ano nga to variable? Is the age of each faculty member. So, age ang ato variable. One data would be the age of a specific faculty member. Like, for example, teacher kintahay si Sir Taipa, no, sa College of Cream. So, paano na to ang kumenta data, one data, katong singular, is katong age ni Sir Taipa. Like, for example, 38 is the age. So, the data would be the set of values in the sample. So, if we talk about data katong plural, that is tanan na mga edad nila sa faculty. The set of values in the sample. Okay, so tanan nila na mga edad. So, na 20, na 25, na 30, na 40, ana. And the experiment would be the method used to select the ages, forming the sample and determining the actual age of each faculty member in the sample. So, mao na ang mga method na pamita experiment, mao na ang mga pamaagi nato, no? O giunsa nato pag-collect or pag-select sa ilang mga ages, no? So, if we talk about parameter of interest, it is the average age of all faculty at the college. Okay, so mao ni ang pagminta parameter, ang average. No, asa man ang pinaka kuan? Asa man ang average ng tanan ng mga edad sa tanan na faculty? Ay population man ta. Pag statistics, this is just the average age for all faculty in the sample. So like for example, ning selectra ka, kay sample raman ang statistics, right? Ang statistic. Ning selectra ka ng 10 ka teachers. So unsa may average ng kadtong 10 ka teachers? So mana ang statistic. Now we also have here two kinds of variables. So we have this qualitative or attribute or categorical variable. And we also have, kasagaran is qualitative and quantitative ra ang ato na ipawaan. Pag maintain na qualitative, other synonyms of this is attribute, categorical, and variable. Attribute, categorical ng mga variables. So this is a variable that categorizes or describes an element of a population. So note that arithmetic operations such as addition and averaging are not meaningful for data resulting from a qualitative variable. So, kumita na qualitative from the word quality, no, from the word quality. Okay? Pag may na quantitative, this is more on numbers. Kumita quantitative, this is more on numbers. Numerical na mga variables. Now, a variable that quantifies an element of a population. So note, arithmetic operations such as addition and averaging are meaningful for data resulting from a quantitative variable. So example for a quantitative data is kanang number of TV sets owned by a family. Number of books in the library. So pila man ka number of books in the library na ay 300. So that belongs to quantitative data. Na time spent on travel to school. No, so that's still quantity. Okay, numbers man. Amount of rainfall. Weight of an apple. So more on numbers. So that is an example of quantitative data. Now, if we talk about qualitative data, we are more on to the quality. We are more on to the quality. So like for example, eye color. O, lisod pag mag-isgot natin ang number pa, no? Naday 1 sa eye color, wa man. So, sa may kasagar na sa eye color? Sa may color na mga eyes ang present? Brown. Pwede na ay black. Pwede na ay blue. May nga na. Sa gender, male and female. Color of an apple, red. Na green. Taste of an apple, delicious, na bitter, or something else. Smell of an apple, those are examples of qualitative. Because dili ta magisgot ng numbers. No? Sa quantity, mo itong hisgotan ang numbers. Example. So, we'll just have to identify each of the following examples as as attribute qualitative or numerical quantitative variables. So number one, the residence hall for each student in statistics class. Qualitative or quantitative? The residence hall for each of the student in statistics class. Qualitative. Number two, the amount of gasoline pumped by the next 10 customers at the local NE mall. Ha? Quantitative. Kay amount ang atong giskutan. Number three, the amount of radon in the basement of each of 25 homes in a new development. Quantitative. Number four, the color of the baseball cap worn by each of 20 students. Qualitative. Kay color man na ito giskutan. 5. The length of time to complete a mathematics homework assignment. Quantitative. 6. The state in which each track is registered when stopped and inspected at a weigh station. The state in which each track is registered when stopped and inspected at a weigh station. Ano sa mga variable dire? State, right? In which each track is registered. So this is a qualitative. Okay. So example. Dapat identify each of the following as examples of qualitative or numerical variables. So the temperature in Baler, Aurora at 12 p.m. on any given day. Sama ni. This is quantitative. How about the make of automobile driven by each faculty member? How about whether or not a 6-volt lantern battery is effective? The weight of a lead pencil. Okay? Weight, that is quantitative. The length of time billed for a long-distance telephone call. Quantity. Okay, quantitative. The brand of cereal children eat for breakfast. Qualitative. The type of book taken out of the library by an adult. Okay, that is qualitative. So in here, we have here qualitative and quantitative variables may be further subdivided. So we have here variable. No, natay variable, natay duha, qualitative o quantitative. Now, sa qualitative, is naapod siya duha. Itawag na nominal o ordinal. Sa quantitative, pag quantitative siya, ato po nang hisgutan if that is discrete ba or continuous. Again, if that is discrete ba or continuous. So, nominal variable, no? Again, ito sa qualitative. Let's define kung unsang nominal o ordinal. So, sa qualitative, naibawa natin if that is nominal or ordinal. Si nominal variable is a qualitative variable that categorizes or describes or names an element of a population. Okay? Pag mayroon na ordinal variable, a qualitative variable that incorporates an ordered position or ranking. Okay? Pag naay si J order, that is an ordinal variable. Pag nag-categorize rata or nag-describe rata ng mga names, that is a nominal variable. Now, ato ta sa quantitative na ito ha, discrete o continuous. Pag may na discrete variable, that is a quantitative variable that can assume a countable number of values. So, countable number of values, kanang mabilang nato. Okay? Intuitively, a discrete variable can assume values corresponding to isolated points along a line interval. That is, there is a gap between any two values. So, pag sinabi natin continuous variable, that is a quantitative variable that can assume an uncountable number of values, or intuitively, a continuous variable can assume any value along a line interval including every possible value between 82 values. So that is uncountable. Again, pag sinabing discrete, that is countable. Pag sinabing continuous, that is uncountable number of values. Okay? Na more on like kuan siya, uncountable. No? So, statistics, of course, deals with numbers. So, need to know nature of numbers collected. So, continuous variables versus discrete variables. Again, pag sinabi natin continuous variables, type of numbers associated with measuring or weighing any value in a continuous interval of measurement. So, continuous interval of measurement. So, examples is weight of students. Okay, so di ba weight sa students na 12.023, ana. Or pag minka, naitay 0.0, yan na, no. Height of plants, time to flowering. Pag sinabi natin discrete variables, type of numbers that are counted, kanang mabilang ra. Okay? Dili kung continuous or categorical. So, examples is numbers of boys. So, like for example, sa Ejo klase, pila man ka number of boys na amo. Lisod pag may tag, ma'am na ami 12.5. Pwede day na day katunga sa kuan tawo. Di man. Number of girls, number of insects, number of plants. No? So, di man tamingon pwede na, ma'am, sa boys na ami, sa plants, gibilang na ako na ay, kuan na plants, 3.723. Ana, di man pwede. Kay, whole numbers man na to gamiton. So, note that, una, in many cases, a discrete and continuous variable may be distinguished by determining whether the variables are related to a count or a measurement. Ikaduha, discrete variables are usually associated with counting. No, kanang mga numbers nga nato 1, 2, 3, 4 mga nang discrete variables. If the variable cannot be further subdivided, it is a clue that you are probably dealing with a discrete variable. Now, if we talk about continuous variables, no, we need also to note that these are usually associated with measurements. No, the values of discrete variables are only limited by your ability to measure them. So, examples. Now, we have to identify each of the following as examples of if it is nominal, if it is ordinal, discrete ba ni, or continuous variables ba ni. So, number 1, the length of time until a pain reliever begins to work. Okay. Unsa man ni? Wait na sa ha. Tanaw na ako. Continuous. Number 2, the number of chocolate chips in a cookie. Oy, this is discrete. Kay number of chocolate chips in a cookie man. Now, we are talking, pila man kabuok ang chocolate chips in a cookie. How about the number of colors used in a statistics textbook? Discrete. The brand of refrigerator in a home. Nominal. This is nominal category. The overall satisfaction rating of a new car. Ordinal. Okay, we are talking about rating. So we are talking about orders, right? The number of files on a computer's hard disk. Discrete. The pH level of the water in a swimming pool. Continuous. The number of staples in a stapler. Discrete. Okay. Okay. That is discrete. Now, let's go on to the measure and variability. So, no matter what the response variable, there will always be variability in the data. So, one of the primary objectives of statistics, is measuring and characterizing variability. So, controlling or reducing variability in a manufacturing process or this is what we call statistical process control. So examples, a supplier fills cans of soda marked 12 ounces. How much soda does each can really contain? No? It is very unlikely any one can contains exactly 12 ounces of soda. So there is a variability in any process. Some cans contain a little more than 12 ounces, and some cans contain a little less. So, dili sa tanang panahon, no? On the average, there are 12 ounces in each can. So, the supplier hopes that there is a little variability in the process, that most cans close or contain close to 12 ounces of soda. So, may ilang target. Now, we also have here data collection. So, first problem, a statistician faces how to obtain the data. Noon sana to pag kakuha ng mga information. It is important to obtain good or representative data. Of course, dili pwede na mag-collect na ng data, magjaga-jaga rata, no? It should be representative and good. Inferences are made based on statistics obtained from the data. Inferences can only be as good as the data. So, natay gitawag po diri na biased sampling method and unbiased sampling method. Pag sinabi nating biased sampling method, a sampling method that produces data which systematically differs from the sampled population. Pag unbiased sampling method siya is one that is not biased. Okay, again, pag sinabi nating biased sampling method, a sampling method that produces data which systematically differs from the sampled population. No? This is a sampling method na mag-produce ng mga information or data na mo differ siya or malahi siya sa sampled population. Pag sinabi nating unbiased, no, is one that is not biased. Okay, now, sampling methods that often result in biased samples. Unsa pa na ila in terms sa bias in Bisaya? Dapat ay Bisaya sa bias. Mura kabayo naman ta sa term na bias, right? No. Di ba, may harap ka bias lagi kakuan. Di ba nga na itong mga word? Say. So, sampling methods that often result in biased samples is number one, we have convenience sample. So, samples selected from elements of the population that are easily accessible. So, mahimo siyang bias tungod kay kadto ra imo gipamili na mga like dito ra ka namili sa mga dali ra, no? Makuha. Ikaduha is volunteer sample. Sample collected from those elements of the population which choose to contribute the needed information on their own initiative. So, nag-volunteer sila to give their information. So, we also have here process of data collection. Now, define the objectives of the survey or experiment. So, example, estimate the average life of an electronic component. So, that is how you define objectives. Ikaduha, you have to define the variable and population of interest. Example, sa may mga variable, length of time for anesthesia to wear off after surgery. Anong inyong variable? No? Katulo is you also have to define the data collection and data measuring schemes. This includes sampling procedures, sample size, and the data measuring device. Like, for example, usa man ninyo pag-gather ng data. No, pwede man muna ay questionnaire, pwede mo na scale, pwede na ruler, and etc. Number 4 is to determine the appropriate descriptive or inferential data analysis techniques. So, natay duha, i-determine nato kung unsa ni ang atong pag-analyze, no? If it is descriptive or inferential data techniques. So, methods used to collect data. So, natay mga methods, no, on how we collect data. Una is experiment. The investigator controls or modifies the environment and observes the effect on the variable under study. So, mag-experiment ka, no, based on, pwede ka mag-observe, no, sa mga people in that study. So, you will have to experiment. Kaduha is survey. Data are obtained by sampling some of the population of interest. The investigator does not modify the environment. So, magkaka ng survey. No? Like, for example, hala, mas daghan ang tao nga ganahan sa EBS compare sa GMA. Or, hala, mas daghan ang tao nga ganahan sa ingani. So, by survey. Diba na yung mga survey na mga ratings sa kuan? Sa mga television. Census, a 100% survey. No? Every element of the population is listed, seldom used, difficult, and time-consuming to compile and expand. Kung mapansin ni Jo sa hinay census sa ato bayay, no na yung mga mag-anha diha. Layo pa man ita. Okay. So, sampling frame. No, this is a list of the elements belonging to the population from which the sample will be drawn. Okay. Note, it is important that the sampling frame be representative of the population. Like sinabi nating sample design, this is the process of selecting sample elements from the sampling frame. Sa sampling frame, kinatibukan ang imo kuanon, no? This is in the population. Pag sinabi nating sample design, this is just the process of selecting sample elements from the sampling frame. So more on like a subset from the sampling frame. So note, there are many different types of sample designs. Usually they all fit into two categories, judgment samples and probability samples. So, if you will define judgment samples and probability samples, pag sinabi nating judgment samples, samples that are selected on the basis of being typical, no? Items are selected that are representative of the population. The validity of the results from a judgment sample reflects the soundness of the collector's judgment. So, probability samples in which the elements to be selected are drawn on the basis of probability. So, each element in a population has certain probability of being selected as part of the sample. So, we also have this what we call random samples. So, ano ba to yung, unsa man yung random samples? So, a sample selected in such a way that every element in the population has equal probability of being chosen. Okay, so kung magkuha ka ng imo sample, kana ganing random, na random ra ka, no, kuha. Like for example, sa ijo section, pili ko, okay, ako pilion si Kuan, si Spinky, or like si Lisander, ana. So, everyone has this equal no na probability of being chosen. No na walay bias nga mga paghitabo. I just pick someone randomly. No, so equivalently, all samples of size and have an equal chance of being selected. Random samples are obtained either by sampling with replacement from a finite population or by sampling without replacement from an infinite population. So we have to note that inherent in the concept of randomness, the next result or occurrence is not predictable. Kaduha, proper procedure for selecting a random sample. So we have to use a random number generator or a table or random numbers. Na examples, no? An employer is interested in the time it takes each employee to commit to work each morning. So a random sample of 35 employees will be selected and their commuting time will be recorded. So there are 2,712 employees in Tahay. So each employee is numbered 001, 002, 003, etc. up to 2,712. So using 4-digit random numbers, a sample is identified. No, like for example, ang ako pilion is kadtong na ay number na no 4-digit random numbers. So like for example, 4, 8, no, tapos kung kisa tong gagunit ng 4, 8, 19, 12, 16, 20, no? Basta kay kanang you will use that 4 numbers. So 4, 8, 12. So kato sila ang maoy ma-select. Ana no? Okay. Na pag sinabi nating systematic sample, this is a sample in which every kth item of the sampling frame is selected. no, starting from the first element, which is randomly selected from the first k elements. So note that the systematic technique is easy to execute. However, it has some inherent dangers when the sampling frame is repetitive or cyclical in nature. In these situations, the results may not approximate a simple random sample. Pag sinabi nating systematic sample, like for example, sa age estudyante na mo'y 40, tas mapili ko og kasatagan tayo mo ng mga numbers. So, dapat na tayo magsugod ta sa 1. So, kita ay si 1 si katong Abel, kay letter A, si 2 si Kuan. Tapos mapili ko ng number, like for example, I will choose 6. So, that means, kung kinsa tong gikan sa starting point, 1 to 6, so kung kinsa tong naa sa 6, may ako mapilian. Isa tong nasunod sa 6, 6 plus 6, 12. Isa tong nasa 12, may ako pilion. Sunod is 18. Sumon ang systematic sample. Pag may na stratified random sample, a sample obtained by stratifying the sampling frame and then selecting a fixed number of items from each of the strata by means of simple random sampling technique. No, that is stratified. Proportional sample or quota sample is a sample obtained by stratifying the sample frame and then selecting a number of items in proportion to the size of the strata or by quota from each strata by means of simple random sampling technique. And the last one is the cluster sample. So when we say cluster sample, it is a sample obtained by stratifying the sampling frame and then selecting some or all of the items from some of, but not all the strata. So, sunod no nato ng mga discussion, maghatag na lang siguro ko ng mga examples with regards to that. And our next topic actually is about organizing and graphing data na, but we just have to proceed this on our next meeting.